Hello, I'm Rachel.
I'm Victoria.
And I'm Farron.
We've been friends and classmates since childhood with a common love for good books.
Join us as we revisit the books from our literature class days, timeless reads, and everything in between.
Let's go back to lit class.
Welcome back to lit class, everyone. We're just going to start off with some almost announcements. Does that take you back to high school morning announcements?
Yeah.
Welcome, Rachel and Farron.
Hey.
Hello.
Hey, so we were talking about what our vision is the next, 4 or 5 episodes or whatever. And we are decided on doing a series of unfortunate events, the bad beginning for our next book read. And then we also have some interviews planned. We're working on getting the logistics worked out. When we're going to fit those in, is it going to be a bonus episode, all that. But look forward to seeing some interviews in the next few episodes. And then also in April, Farron is going to be picking our book because April is also her birthday month. So we are going to pick a book for the month that it is our birthday.
Yeah. And my requirement to do that is that it has to be less than 1,000 pages because you guys read some hefty books.
I promised that it would be under 600.
I should have said like less than 500.
You really should have, because 1,000 is kind of crazy. That's like Musashi level.
Just give me at least a couple months to read ahead because it will take me a long time.
And
I'm not a slow reader. I'm not a slow reader, guys. I'm actually really fast, and I'm not good at audiobooks.
I was like, you got to get those audiobooks in.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you get them in.
That's how I got Of Mice and Men in audiobook.
Was the audiobook good for Of Mice and Men?
Everything except for the first minute and the last minute, where there was a random harmonica playing so loudly that you couldn't hear the words. It was so obnoxious. It went on for so long that I thought the whole book was going to be that it was going to be 3.5 hours of harmonica over the talking, the dialogue.
Did you listen to it on like a faster speed?
No, I can't do that.
Oh, okay. I was going to say it makes the music terrible when you do that.
No, it was just really, really loud. Just bad editing. I don't like when you make books faster and it distorts their voice.
I always listen to it faster. At least 1.2. That's the slowest I'll go.
Give me the full 24 hours.
Oh, it's so long.
Too much. I need to shorten it somehow. I need to feel like I'm taking a shortcut.
All right. So let's dive into today's book, Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. Rachel had the job of giving us a little summary and some little facts about the book. So, Rachel, do you want to get into that for us?
All right. So, Of Mice and Men is a novella, which I'm not really sure what the technical difference between a novel and a novella is, but it is a short 105 pages published in 1937 by John Steinbeck. It tells the story of two friends, George Milton and Lenny Small, during the Great Depression in the United States. George and Lenny are an unusual team of migrant ranch workers who have just left their latest ranch because of an incident with Lenny, who is mentally disabled, and are heading towards their next job, which is the setting for the remainder of the story. I think the story is best summed up with a quote from Steinbeck's journal. In 1938, he wrote, "In every bit of honest writing in the world, there is a base theme. Try to understand men. If you understand each other, you will be kind to each other. Knowing a man well never leads to hate and nearly always leads to love." And I just really love that quote. And I think it really does summarize his writing in a lot of his novels, but especially in this one.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, I almost skipped the introduction to this book because I don't always love to read those, but I did read this one, and that's where that quote came from.
That is where the audiobook is lacking, apparently, because hear that. It just went straight into the harmonicas.
You got an introduction in your book?
Yeah. There were also a lot of really fun facts about this book. There were, of course, lots of adaptations. Like there was a film adaptation and a movie adaptation, but there was also an opera adaptation in 1969, which I thought was interesting. And
Yeah, I saw that. I thought that was interesting too.
they said supposedly Steinbeck's dog ate the first draft of this book.
Yeah. Which, like, can you imagine? I don't know.
He's so mad.
I don't know. And then he rewrote it all. Good thing it was short.
And the original title that he had for this book was just simply Something That Happened.
I know. I'm really glad he went with something else.
Yeah.
It is better.
Yeah, I think it's a very meaningful title. Like once you read the whole book and think back to the title of the book, it makes a lot more sense and holds a lot more meaning.
He took it from a poem.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can't remember what it was called, but it was like a line in a poem.
Yeah.
You guys know more about him than I do, apparently. I also did not read this one in high school, so maybe I didn't get this
You
info.
didn't read the book in high school?
No.
What is this podcast all about?
Why are we here again?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so now we can't ask you what you thought of it then and now. But honestly, I really loved reading this book, and I didn't remember the end of this book, which is also sad because I've read it in the last probably 10 years. I've read it and still did not remember the end of it.
Really?
Which is like the whole point.
That's the thing
It's
I
a pretty
remember
memorable
most
ending
about it.
It is.
So
But
you
maybe that's
didn't,
what
Victoria, so you didn't know it was going to happen this
Nope.
time.
I
why you cried too.
literally had zero knowledge of what to expect going into this book. I did know that Lenny was mentally challenged. I do remember hearing people talk about that in high school. I remember I was in a different English class than the majority of our class was. And I do remember in homeroom hearing people talk about, like, we're reading Of Mice and Men and talking about Lenny. Other than that, I had no idea.
This is a spoiler. The whole episode's a spoiler, but I didn't realize that Curly's wife died, that Lenny killed Curly's wife. I think in my mind, I thought that he was just being accused of rape or assault and not that he killed her. And that's why he was running, which is what happened at the first ranch, but not.
Yeah, I don't know how you didn't grasp that.
I don't know either.
And that it would have been talked about.
Yeah, no, it definitely would have. I just didn't remember it. I wasn't paying attention, or I was confusing it with other books or even within this one. But
I gotcha.
There were a lot of other things that I missed, like just the bigger themes. I think what stood out to me when I read it this time was the theme of loneliness.
Mm-hmm.
And not just, it's like there are like several characters within the book where it talks about how each of them were kind of lonely in a different way.
That stood out to me as well during this time, that everyone was really lonely, and I don't think anyone felt very understood, which creates loneliness.
Yeah, right. And that goes back to his quote of try to understand men. If you understand each other, you'll be kind to each other. And
it definitely made the book sadder, just kind of recognizing the loneliness in each individual.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say it definitely, once they got to the ranch and more characters were being introduced, and what was the old man's name?
Candy.
I was trying to say that earlier.
When he was jumping in on the vision of getting their own farm, basically, and was dreaming and scheming and tallying up and figuring, and that was when it really started to hit me. The sadness of the book, the desperation of all of these characters, that whole part was what really solidified that this book was going to make me really sad.
Yeah. And they were all wanting camaraderie, they wanted, and they kept commenting how it was uncommon for men to travel together.
Yeah, that was one of the quotes that I wrote down was, "Ain't many guys travel around together," he mused. "I don't know why. Maybe everybody in the whole world is scared of each other."
Scared of vulnerability.
So, and even, I don't know. I think you even see that scared that feeling of being scared with, they kind of kept everyone at an arm's length, you know, even Curly's wife, like, don't get near this person, don't get near this person, because closeness would be vulnerability. Whereas if you just keep to yourself, you can kind of feel safe.
And lonely.
And lonely. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought the power dynamics were interesting as well this time around, and how if there was ever an opportunity for someone to take power, then they would. Like, I was just thinking of the time when Lenny was in Crook's home, you know, telling him about the dream of his rabbits and his, you know, his little farmland. And Crook was just like putting him down for it because there was an opportunity to, like, it was like almost a power play.
Yeah. Crooks being at a disadvantage is so clear to him and obvious, where Lenny doesn't fully understand that. And so that's one thing I had noted, was that he clearly sees how him and Lenny are similar in a way.
Yeah.
And they're treated similarly. I mean, they are also treated differently, because Lenny, he's not the same in some ways as his peers. He still gets to live in the bunkhouse with the other ranchers, whereas Crooks is in his own, even further separated from the rest, in his own, in the barn on his own.
Yeah.
I think something that stood out to me reading it, obviously for the first time, was that George really had a lot of compassion for Lenny. You know, he reiterates so many times that he's not, very harsh language, that he's not that bright. Like, he doesn't have a lot of smarts, but he's a good worker. He's a hard worker. He takes direction well. Just tell him what to do and he can do it. He's stronger than most men. He can do more. And it even points out in the book when he gives Lenny those compliments, especially when talking about Lenny to other people, that Lenny like grins really big or something. And you can just tell that's not something that he gets told a lot. He just gets told how much of a nuisance or a problem, how he lacks, that he doesn't get built up a lot. And even though I was very shocked in the beginning to hear the language and how mean they talked to him, he still had the most compassion for him, and you could tell that he really cared about him. Because again, why would he travel along with him? I thought that they were related. I thought that they were brothers or something in the beginning of the book. I didn't realize they had no relation.
No, I think he tells someone that they're cousins, or that they are related, that they really are.
He says they're cousins, but they're not. Yeah. I remember thinking, I thought they were related too, even though, I don't know, I had already read it before. And I was like, I couldn't remember how their connection, but it was like just family friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you guys feel about the way that Curly's wife, who is an unnamed character, how do you feel like she was treated?
Well, she was unnamed, which stuck out a lot. And I guess Steinbeck did that purposely to make us not like her more or something, like not naming her on purpose. She's supposed to be like this villainous character, kind of.
So you weren't attached to her. You didn't feel as much sorrow for her being
maybe
accidentally.
But I still thought it was interesting that he, like, I mean, Curly had a name and he was the antagonist.
I think I did see it as a way of making her less than, because I don't know if it ever even, I don't think any of the characters are all good, maybe except Lenny, pure in their motive, always doing the right thing. But she really is given this role without, I don't know how much merit. I don't know. I felt more compassion for her and her character than I think I was expecting, because I think I read it through all the names that they call her and just the awful things that they say about her. Was there any action behind what they were saying? Like, did she ever do anything promiscuous, or
she was just flirtatious?
Yeah.
Giving them the eye.
Yeah, they call it the eye, but they call it,
she's got the eye.
Which, I mean, even the scene where she winds up dying, I didn't get any like promiscuous, like her searching out anything in that respect from Lenny. It was simply just, I'm lonely you're someone I can talk to. And she was trying to relate to him by saying, like, feel how soft my hair is. Like, isn't it beautiful? And she, like, trying to not necessarily get a compliment, but something that she values in herself.
Yeah, she's trying to connect. That's kind of how I read it this time. Of like, she is very lonely too. I mean, she's, again, similar to like, you are in a house by yourself and are kind of not allowed to talk to anyone, even on the ranch.
Married to like a mean man.
She opens up about that, saying she married him after she was told she could be a star and she could have had such a better life and been doing something with herself. He was nice at first, but after 2 weeks of marriage or something like that, he became mean and hurtful and controlling. And so I think she just felt trapped and probably scared and alone and was just looking for a friend. But because of the time period, it wasn't appropriate to look for a friend in a male or in a quote lesser than person.
Yeah. I think her dream was she wanted to be an actress or like in shows and movies.
A movie star.
Yeah, her dream, as a reader, you can see how unattainable and how almost silly it seems,
But
similarly to how George and Lenny and Candy's, like, they kind of bring him into that, their dream of having a place of their own to work the land.
Yeah, it's very hopeless. And it feels like similar to, you know, like the American dream, and just like kind of a silly thing to reach for.
And it, you know, takes place during the Great Depression. So of all the hopeless times, of all the times of people dreaming for bigger and better, I think the book really grasped that from all aspects.
Yeah. And I guess during this time, like, the jobs, the ranch hands were starting to be taken over by machinery too. And so it was getting harder to find those types of jobs.
I, like I said, did not read this book in high school, so I did not have any real knowledge about the book. And I know that it's part of, and I knew it was part of the most banned books. I think it falls into the top 10 from some of the lists I've seen. So this is the second one that we've covered that falls into a top 10 most banned. To Kill a Mockingbird was one of them. And it falls into that for, you know, the content of racism, violence, language, sexual assault, euthanasia.
Also anti-business.
Yeah. All the good, you know, hot social topics, which I think that wasn't as surprising to me, but the language was a little shocking that it was read or allowed to be curriculum in like a Catholic high school.
I kind of thought that too. I don't remember being fazed by it though at all in high school.
Yeah, I don't either.
I don't think I would have been fazed by it, but like as an adult looking, and I wouldn't have a problem with it. It's no worse than a lot of movies and shows and whatnot, especially if it's a junior or senior, and it has a purpose. It's not just for, you know, I can't say what I want to say.
For poops and giggles.
Yeah, for poops and giggles. Like, there's a purpose of why the book is chosen, and, you know, it because it does such a good job in such a short book addressing so many good issues, good points of view, good talking points. But I was, within the first maybe 5 minutes of listening to the book, like, people were reading this in our school?
The part that shocked me a lot more this go around, that I think made me more upset, was when they forced Candy to put his dog down. They bullied him.
That was really sad.
Yeah, it was just, and he knew like that it was hopeless for him to try to not put his dog down. And then the comparison of the dog to a person, like Lenny, because George just shot him like a dog, you know, like he's putting a dog down. I thought that was kind of pretty offensive.
And the dog is like a picture of how Candy was treated too as an older, somewhat physically disabled person.
Yeah, physically disabled with his missing hand.
Yeah.
Which is why he had no choice in the putting down the dog because he
Yeah.
was older and he was not the
And
one who had the power.
he even said that when he leaves the ranch, he would rather someone just put him out of his misery, like his dog, because he's not going to have anywhere to go. He doesn't have people to take care of him. He won't be able to get a job because of his age and his physical state with in hand. So I understand how back in that time period they could write comparing shooting a human who's mentally disabled to, a dog, just because they were not they were institutionalized and not taking care of so many horrible things. Not saying that it's right. I can just see basically the same way I can see why they wrote the one female character in this book the way that they wrote her without giving her a name, and because that was just a time period, but it's horrible.
Yeah. I almost think that's a reason why books like this should be read, is because we have to
know where we've come from.
we have to know what it was like. Even if it's not a perfect picture, it still is like a glimpse into, well, how were people treated then and how are they treated now?
Yeah. And this book even is, I felt like Steinbeck, in the quote that you read earlier, he's written this book so that we would have a greater understanding for people and their situation. Everyone's pretty different. I mean, I think there's a lot of different roles in the book, and the goal is to be understood. And that's what he wants us. I think that's what he wanted to get at in the book. But even with that idea in mind, you can easily tell the times in the writing, the way that the characters are portrayed and the language around them would not be very permissible.
No.
But yeah, I agree. I think it is important that we understand where we came from. I think that maybe we need to get a little bit better at accepting our past and maybe apologizing for it.
Even if we didn't personally do it.
Yeah.
Something that I was thinking about with Curly and his relationship with Lenny is that he just flat out, I think he knew something was different about him. Obviously was automatically going to bully him. Didn't get to know him, pinned him as, I'm going to do stuff to this guy to get him kicked off the ranch, is what my kind of take from it was.
He had to have the upper hand.
Yeah. He didn't want anyone to be better, stronger, harder worker. And I'm assuming people got the vibe that Lenny was different than them. Candy and George, who had a relationship, and even probably Slim, who was their basically manager, they all had more compassion for Lenny, more understanding that he sometimes didn't know better. He didn't understand what he was doing. Whereas Curly didn't care. He was not going to gain that compassion or anything. And so the minute that, I don't think he cared that his wife was killed, his immediate reaction was, I'm going to go kill that guy. But I don't think it was because really his wife was killed. It was more because now I have a chance to do something about this guy. And he wasn't going to hear anything about it being accidental, or just, if you guys just get out of here.
Steinbeck actually worked on a ranch. He was a ranch hand in California himself. And while he was working on one of the ranches, he met his inspiration for Lenny's character. And according to Steinbeck, this character, Steinbeck says he killed a ranch foreman, and because he got sore because the boss had fired his pal and stuck a pitchfork right through his stomach.
Yikes.
That's a good time. Right. That's good inspiration, though.
Have you guys seen the SNL skit with Bobby Moynihan of Mice and Men?
No, but now I must look it up.
No. So funny.
I'll have to look that up after. Do you think that that George could have made a different decision in that moment?
This is what I'm confused
What do
about.
you think he was truly motivated by in that decision? Was it truly compassion, or do you think he was tired?
Was he seeking power now?
Was he playing compassionate, air quote, playing compassionate because he was losing control of Lenny and was running out of options?
Why did he not tell? Why did George not tell the other ranch workers and Curly to look for Lenny in a different direction? Because he should have known where Lenny was going to be.
I thought he did do that, which is why I'm confused. Because
That's why I'm asking, do you think he had other choices in how he handled?
he could have definitely gone on the run.
Yeah, he definitely had other choices. It wouldn't have probably made for as good of a story
Well, yeah.
as this, but he definitely could have made lots of different choices. But I think he thought he was being compassionate by saving Lenny from being like whatever
Like,
Chris would have done to him, like brutally murdered. So
mhm.
he, like, similarly to how they thought killing the old smelly dog, was compassionate, I think he genuinely probably did think this is
the better
the better
option.
option. Yeah, it's also hard not to see George just viewing it as an opportunity for him to move up.
Or move on
Yeah.
from this caretaker role.
So what I was confused about in it is that when they asked him where he was,
Yeah.
George said he would, after considering it for a time, he said he would have went south. We come from north, so he would have went south. But weren't they meeting back north where they came from? They were going back to that spot that they were at. So I was just confused about that.
That
Mhm.
is confusing.
Yeah. And so I was like, so how do they find
Also,
him?
I'm pretty sure Lenny was schizophrenic.
It says that it says that he,
I'm not trying to diagnose anyone here, but he started talking to other things that he was seeing.
yeah, it says that he would have been diagnosed with like autism, I believe.
That's what I read.
If
too.
they had to give it, I guess, one.
Just not heard. I mean, I guess you could have multiple diagnoses, especially with like trauma and stuff. But I was shocked at the end when he said he saw someone and was talking to them, and heard, and was like having a full-blown conversation.
Yeah, I think that was brought about because of what had just happened, what he had just done.
Yeah, I feel like it was due to like stress.
Yeah.
Okay.
It could have been like a psychosis moment or something.
Okay.
Just like because of stress. Are you guys ready for the pop quiz?
I'm ready.
Let's do it. Remember, you have to say ding, and I must say your name.
It'll be better because we can see each other.
Okay, but say the ding.
You have to say the ding.
What if I say dong?
Victoria, I don't know how you know how podcasts work, but they can't see us.
Yes, but what if I go ding?
You can do both.
Baron sees my hand move first.
Do whatever you
want. Okay, ready. Where did the story take place?
Ding.
Yes.
California.
Yes, but where in California?
Ding, on a ranch.
No.
Ding.
Yes.
Somewhere close to Selena.
I'll give it to you. Yeah, just south of Soledad. That's the city they were in.
Oh, yes, of course. I read the book. So I do know that.
I was like, no one's going to get this. No one pays attention to setting. When I was reading this, I'm like, okay, I'm going to really try hard because there's only 2 pages of description of scenery. And I usually just zone out completely.
I love it.
I have no picture in my head whatsoever when it comes to scenery. I'm all about characters, relationships. That's it. And plot, obviously. But I'm like, okay, I'm going to focus. I'm going to really try hard. And a few sentences in, I realize I'm already zoning out. But I did better than usual, actually.
You wouldn't have been able to zone out with mine with the harmonicas.
No, I just wasn't able to hear what they were saying. Okay, giving it to Rachel. Question number 2. Why did George and Lenny have to leave the last ranch they were on?
Ding.
Oh, Lordy.
Dang.
Victoria. I'm sorry.
Because he was accused of raping the woman with the velvet dress.
Yes, I think that's right. I just said Lenny tried to feel a girl's soft dress, and then she freaked out. But he just touched her soft dress.
And he wouldn't let go.
Yeah. This is why education is so important. Anyway, number 3. What is a cat house?
Ding.
Victoria.
It's like a brothel, like a prostitution house.
Yes. Okay, number 4. What incident in their past made George stop playing jokes on Lenny?
Ding.
Victoria.
He jumped into like a lake or a river and he couldn't swim and he almost drowned.
Yes. Final question. Victoria's already won, but here we go. Number 5.
I bet all my points.
After killing Curly's wife, what pair does Lenny imagine chastising him in his delusional phase?
His aunt? Ding. Oh.
Yeah. Rachel.
Ding.
Rachel.
His aunt, Clara.
Yes.
And Lenny and George.
No.
A rabbit?
Yes.
Okay.
A giant rabbit.
Those are really good questions, Farron.
I researched really hard on them.
I didn't.
No, I didn't, but I picked the best ones.
No.
job.
Straight up to what? Google quiz of mice and men.
I searched through like 25 questions.
That's pretty good.
Yes. Victoria won. Congratulations. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. That can't be my saying. We got to cut it out. Oh, man.
Congratulations.
So we're going to end the episode how we normally end, with something we are loving. So Farron, start us off.
Okay. Well, it's something I'm simultaneously loving and hating at the same time. But I have been cooking a lot more, and I'm really proud of myself for doing it and coming up with new recipes or just copying them from the internet. But I finally found some good ones, and I'm pretty happy about that. But I still hate cooking, and I just can't help it.
Pictures of the food you sent look delicious, especially those cheesecakes.
Yeah, did those have real dairy in them, Farron?
No. It was cashew based and then coconut milk. Let me tell you though, they turned out terrible. Don't make them.
Okay. As soon as you said they were cashew based cheesecake,
could have told you that.
Red flag.
It's just like, it doesn't freeze right. It had decent flavor. It's the texture. It's all off. It doesn't work.
Rachel, what are you loving?
So I am loving going to the gym, but for all the right reasons. Like walking on the treadmill and watching Seinfeld, because that is what I do at the gym.
That's great.
Love it.
It is. I walk on the treadmill. I have gone over to the weight section, but not like the legit intense weight section. I'm not there yet.
You're just exploring.
I'm just like looking at it sometimes. Walk by it.
You just touch.
You're like,
right?
No touching of the equipment.
That's too much.
I walk straight to the circuit, which does have weights. Like I've been doing some weights, which is good, but it's like where the old ladies are. So I fit right in.
Yeah.
The old ladies and I, we do our circuit on the weights, and we all wiped out our equipment because we are responsible
gym goers.
I'm really bad about that.
And go to Chick-fil-A and get milkshakes.
As your reward.
As my reward.
It's like a reward.
Victoria, what are you loving?
I guess, I don't know, did I talk about loving my Kindle on our last episode? I don't
know.
Yeah. It's official. I officially love my Kindle. So much so that I read my first physical book since owning a Kindle and got real confused when the page wouldn't turn when I was tapping it.
Oh my gosh.
Broken.
I was like, what is wrong? Oh, this book takes more work. So that I'm really loving the Kindle. Don't know why I was so hesitant for so long to get one. I didn't think I would use it enough. And now that I'm reading more, it also makes reading way more convenient. So I think that's also why I've read so many more books.
You're not lugging around your 1,000-page books.
Yeah, and when I'm done with a book, I can immediately find another one right away. I don't have to wait until I go to the library or go to the bookstore, order one online. So that and oat milk lattes. I've been loving those.
Do you drink oat milk lattes hot or iced?
both. Like almond milk. Oat milk gives more of the creamy consistency. Almond milk is too watery, and coconut milk tastes like poo-poo. It tastes like coconut.
Yeah.
Oat milk is very bland. It has no flavor. It takes on just like milk.
Yeah, I don't mind oat milk in iced drinks, but I am a real milk fan. I specifically also really like half and half. It's like cream over 2% or something.
I like the oat milk. I recently made my own oat milk. That's something also and I made hamburger buns.
All right. Thanks for joining us on this special episode of Back to Lit Class. We are excited for next month's episode, which will be The Bad Beginning from a series of unfortunate events. We will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye. Every time I make pancakes is with my breast milk.
Are you serious? Oh my word. Do people know that you're using that?
I tell them, they don't care.
You can't eat at everybody's house. No, you can't eat at everybody's house.
My note says, she died?
I don't know how you missed it.
A pinch of salt, lots of love, and lots of breast milk.
And the later it gets, the more I just laugh.
The earth moves around the sun, right? He's basically like that Charlie Brown teacher when he starts sciencing me.
Psych!
Don't put that in. I should know that the earth moves around the sun.
Oh, it's too late.
Oh no, you're wearing a robe now.
That was the week I thought I was really beautiful.
I was gonna say it.
Well, I don't know. If we ever make any money, who get the most?
You should totally do a pancake.
Pancakes, kids. It's free.